So live. Hello, I'm Andrew. I would like to tell you something of my life. I will show you first two pictures. This. And then I show you the Archangel Michael. He holds the world, the globe in hand, and also the cross. He's got the whole world in his hand. So, in life many things happen, incredible. The first who came into my life and told me that I was Jesus was a young man who was 4 or 5 years younger than me. That was in 1974. Bernhard. He was convinced that I was Jesus and that I am Jesus. He met me almost every day somewhere. That happened about 3 years in this way. In between, Bernhard was in a convent. When he came out again, I thought, okay, now it has changed. But it still was the same. But it was inconceivable for me. Also, I have always lived with the conscience that I'm born again, to also have a connection to the spiritual world and live in the spiritual world and in the spiritual room and communicate in the spiritual space and with the spiritual space, but it was unimaginable for me that I've been Jesus. Over the years, I've met other people who are the same sort. But I've always blocked. I've never considered me worthy enough. It was ruled out. But the theme of Christ was always present.
Aber das Thema Christus war immer präsent.
It was here, Jesus. It happened to me over and over again. I've often suspected him in other people, and I also had the feeling that Jesus is present also in this now, reborn. About 7 years ago, I had a special encounter. I met an old woman in the street, Annie. We started talking and she said to me these words, Andrew, Adam was created to move Lucifer to repentance. Only Adam can do it, because only Adam has a pure soul. I've been thinking for many months about why a pure soul is so important for the stars. And there's really only one logical conclusion. That Lucifer itself has or is still a pure soul. Who is Lucifer? Lucifer is a bringer of light, the former highest angel. Prince of angels with its own host of angels. Lucifer fell because he wanted to be more than his father, the Creator, nor was he willing to serve the people. He has described them as a mixture of angel and animal. slightly inferior than the world of angels.
die Engelwelt.
Okay, this was also a very typical example that life is so alive and brings messages.
Erlebnis,
It too wants life and it touches us.
dermaßen lebendig ist und Botschaften bringt, einem ins Leben bringt und einen berührt.
This is not calculated. It cannot be predicted, and you have a lot to work on it in order not to lose the orientation.
Da die Orientierung nicht zu verlieren.
A next typical experience. It is not so long ago. That was 3 years ago.
So lange her. Das war vor
Where I lived, I had terminated the lease.
und
And I wanted to start with my car, but the engine did not start. Then I phoned around the neighborhood. The house was on a mountain and the nearest neighbor about a kilometer away. I asked if anyone can tow up my car. Then came a man named Hubert. He was a few years younger than me, perhaps 20 years younger.
daraufhin kam
He towed me.
ein Mann namens Hubert, einige Jahre jünger als ich, vielleicht 20 Jahre jünger als ich.
We came in a conversation because all were great Christ crosses everywhere in the village. One cross was sprayed with gold paint and richly decorated. I told Hubert that some crosses cannot belong to Jesus.
Und da habe ich ihm gesagt, also
The one with much pomp and gold plating is exactly the opposite of what the Bible teaches. Then he said to me he did not even know whether Jesus ever means something positive. I replied, yes, he means something positive, but it is different than our belief. Then he asked, can you explain the Bible in just one word? I considered for a moment and I said, yes, charity.
in einem Wort erklären.
Because he knew that I'm looking for a house and I quit, he drove me here in this place,
Als ich ein Haus suche und gekündigt hatte, ist er mit mir hier in diesen Ort
Önsbach. He showed me this house. He said, this is built for you. It's your house.
gebaut. Das
Zielstraße 1. Wow. A dilapidated house, 250 years old, half expired.
Jahre alt, 250 Jahre alt.
In this house hang more than 20 Christ crosses
In diesem Haus hängen mehr
in all rooms, in the attic, in the stables,
Stallung, überall.
probably as protection, hung up from the deceased owner. What was also here are the two pictures I have shown and will show later again.
Was auch eben hier war, das sind die
Yes, but I moved in here.
und gleich nochmal zeige. Ja, also ich bin hier
About 7 or 8 years ago, I read the Bible from the first to the last letter.
etwa
I always had the feeling that it hides more to it than can be recognized by simply reading.
habe immer das Gefühl,
Deeper messages, deeper truths, parables, metaphors,
durch das einfache Lesen wahrnimmt.
that one cannot interpret everything as you read it. Instead, it has a deeper meaning.
Gleichnisse, Metaphern, dass man nicht alles so interpretieren muss, dass es so wie man liest, sondern es hat ein tiefer.
It is also important to let partially open if something happens in this material world, or the sum of what is reported happens in the spiritual world, in a non-material world,
Oder geschieht manches
in which there can be manifestations, but they are not made of matter. You can see someone, but you cannot embrace him because he is no matter.
aber sind nicht aus Materie.
If you want to hug him, you embrace through him through, so to speak. This is similar to the angelic world.
Kannst du durch ihn hindurch sozusagen. Und
While I read the Bible and also search for hidden keys and messages, I had gradually the feeling that it is different than it is written.
und Botschaften gesucht habe, hatte ich auch nach und nach immer mehr das Gefühl,
It has first surprised me that the fisherman Andrew, who is called the first called, suddenly falls completely out
erst einmal gewundert,
from the story.
Fischer Andreas, der ja der Erstberufene genannt wird, plötzlich ganz rausfällt.
Of all the disciples is told something, but there are about Andrew just a few sentences, and then it is as if he would no longer exist. Then I ask myself, why is a fish symbol a symbol of Jesus if it says that he was a carpenter? Then I thought that does not fit together. And also the saying, I want to make fishers of men from you. The fishing belongs to a fisherman, to a sailor, but not to a carpenter, I think.
Ich will aus euch Menschenfischer machen. Das Fischen gehört zu einem Fischer, zu einem Seemann, einem Seefahrer und nicht zu einem Zimmer. Sag ich jetzt mal so.
In the last 2 years, that thought became more deeply, so that I came to this consideration that Jesus and Jesus the Christ are two different. Jesus, the official preacher who preached, and Jesus the Christ, his spiritual father. His spiritual father was a fisherman, Andrew.
Und Jesus Christus,
He acted in the background. His spirit expanded.
Fischer Andreas, der im Hintergrund wirkte. Sein Geist
He also taught years before Jesus appeared and was baptized in the house of the fishermen brothers in Capernaum. It was an open house, a kind of domestic church, open to all who were interested. Andrew was with John the Baptist.
Interesse
To Andrew belonged his brother Simon Peter, Petrus, Thomas, who one later called Doubting Thomas, and Matthew.
den man später den ungläubigen Thomas nannte.
Those were his ally. 3 of these names are the names of my current brothers,
Seine
my siblings in this now.
diese 4 Namen
Some of my siblings.
noch sind alle meine Brüder in diesem Leben, meine Geschwister in diesem Jetzt.
If the fisherman was crucified, then the treachery of Judas was not that he betrayed the preacher Jesus to the
Jesus betrogen hat, weil er ihn an die Römer verriet, sondern er hat dem Prediger Jesus eigentlich.
short interruption, sorry.
Ja, Augenblick. Achso, ich wurde jetzt eben unterbrochen. Sorry, jetzt muss ich erstmal den Faden wiederfinden.
The betrayal is actually then that Judas, not the preacher Jesus embraced, but the fisherman Andreas, Andrew.
Eben nicht den Prediger Jesus umarmte, sondern den Fischer Andreas.
If the fisherman Andrew was crucified, then the spiritual Jesus was crucified. The epithet Christ was actually the highest form of mockery. It actually means the anointed one, a royal title. But one as Andrew, this I suspect very strongly, first raped, then buffeted and battered, and only after that crucified.
Erstens vergewaltigt,
And then they gave him the nickname Christ,
erst gekreuzigt.
the absolute contempt.
Die absolute Verachtung.
These are my considerations after now about 50 years. I'm working since I was 13 years old with the search for the truth in this topic, and I've come to these considerations.
der Wahrheit in diesem Thema. Und bin
And also to the thought that the fisherman Andrew possibly was a reincarnation of Adam. Adam is the image of God. There's only one image of God, that's Adam, the first human. Adam is created, and unlike all subsequent people, not a born one. Instead, like Eve, created.
sondern
The last Adam is also labeled for Jesus the Christ.
Adam ist ein Titel,
Therefore, it all fits together.
darum passt das alles zusammen.
Also the Alpha and Omega. Adam was the first man, the beginning, Alpha.
Mensch,
When I think of Alpha, I also think of Omega.
an Alpha denke,
I am the beginning and the end, Alpha and Omega. This is a saying of Jesus in the tradition in the Bible.
Jesus.
I know that we are living in the end times.
Ich weiß, dass wir in der
But I also believe and I know that there is a new beginning after each end.
aber ich glaube auch daran und weiß, dass es nach jedem Ende ein neues
But before you start something new, it is important that you find all the truth, so that you build on truth.
ist es wichtig, dass man erst einmal alle Wahrheit findet. Dass man auf Wahrheit.
Truth is so important because there is no true love without truth.
Keine Wahrheit gibt es
But if there is no true love, who wants to live in such a world?
keine wahre Liebe.
I think no one.
Wer möchte in solch einer Welt leben?
That is why it is so important that we find out the truth. And that's why I am here. I am here to find the truth. That's my mission in this life.
Hier, die Wahrheit zu finden.
So I go paths that are actually unimaginable for all. I present theses that are implausible for all. And of course, I run always at risk of being ridiculed by others, or to be disregarded, for sick to be told, or for crazy.
Missachtet, für krank erklärt.
Because it is something else which I communicate as the official news.
Teile als
That which I communicate, even in my videos, that is life itself,
das Leben selbst.
living spirit.
Geist. Spirit.
Life creates something. Life creates life. Living life. Liveliness, soul. Life is soul. It has a soul. The soul itself is spirit.
Ist Geist. Spirit.
These are very important findings.
Das ist, sind ganz
This is all lost in our everyday life because we are not taught that.
gar nicht
We are, so to speak, trained from birth that we work more or less well, that we carry out certain tasks, fulfill certain standards, that we go predetermined routes.
letztlich, wenn man es ganz
If you look at it very objectively, one can say, as today's Western world, we are trained to that we are always guided by profit.
profitieren.
Is important.
Profit ist nicht
Then you can count them. Consumption is important because it supposedly compensates you. Apparently, it compensates you. Apparently, it makes you happy.
scheinbar entschädigt er dich. Scheinbar macht
But this happiness is always only a very short duration.
ist ja immer nur
One is inwardly again unsatisfied after a few hours,
geht nach ein paar
few days,
oder Wochen
or some weeks.
halt nicht innerlich
Mentally unsatisfied. You need something new again. There's a new attraction, which I need, which I want. One has the illusion that your life will become more beautiful and easier until you eventually realize that all this is not important. The only thing that is really important, that is our soul. This is our spirit, which has nothing to do with our brains. The spiritual world has nothing to do with what we think up there. But the spiritual space is here, present. We are in it. The Spirit wanders through us. If we had no brain, He would do the same. Also, a tree is permeated by Spirit. Also, a stone can be. That is, everything in life, the entire creation, is permeated by soul and spirit.
Auch Wesen, die kein gehen, auch ein Baum ist vom Geist durchflutet oder ein Stein kann es sein. Das heißt, alles im Leben, alle Schöpfung ist
And that is important. The fact that we pay attention to where is actually my middle, where's my center, and always pay attention to what one says the heart, how I feel about certain messages or news, what I feel like I live, how am I in fact. Pay attention of that and not always pay attention to what others want to say, to sell, to sell, to sell. One is almost slain by advertising. You can even look nowhere more. No newspaper open, not turn on the TV, not switch on the radio, or turn on any computer without immediately is coming advertising, which is one hammered into the brain. It is important that one closes for such crap. Instead, his heart opens. That one has the courage to take information from the spiritual space, to sensitize itself for the meeting with other people, but also with other beings, with the animal world, with plants. When you walk through a forest, for example, what you feel then? What you feel when you look into the sky? What you feel when you see images of clouds? What you feel when you see the moon? What you feel when the sun rises? This is all important. It is much more important than what you have been taught, what is supposedly important. Because it is de facto so, when a human gives his body, and we do so only from our body, because our soul is immortal, he can take nothing with. Nothing. Not a single hair, not a single grain of sand, not a single drop of water, absolutely nothing. This shows how instantly wrong the belief is that you must possess much matter. It makes no sense. You will lose everything anyway. This teaches you the dying. It teaches you that you cannot keep anything of all this. You can keep the memory in your soul. It can remember. You can probably also return to this world because your soul remembers. But your soul can go also other ways. Your soul may long for something else. You can decide for themselves that they do not want to return to the human world again, a world which consists greatly out of constraints. One is as human being not really free, and out of drawer thinking, system, power thinking. Everyone wants to have power, more power than the other. Everyone wants to have servants. And then I can understand it very well when the soul says, oh, that's enough for me. I travel now, for example, into the animal world or into the world of plants, a soul, and incarnate there in a corresponding body. I can also travel into the world of the oceans. My soul, then I am a being of the sea. I can also travel into the world of the skies, then I am a being of the air. All this is possible. These are important matters on which it is worth pondering. That's what I wanted to say. But now I finish. That was offered spontaneously. So I've come to this result. Jesus the Christ and Jesus are two different people. Jesus the Christ is a fisherman, Andreas. Therefore the fish symbol, therefore the herringbone pattern in the Turin grave clothes.
verschiedene Personen. Jesus Christus ist der Fischer Andreas. Darum das Fischsymbol, darum das Fischgrätenmuster im Turiner Grabtuch.
And therefore the telling of the fishing. All this belongs to a fisherman, not to a carpenter. If the Turin grave clothes is truly authentic, you can also see that this is not a 30 years old man, not even after physical suffering. Because I can feel and see the soul. I can see that the soul is older. The man is probably twice as old. He may well be 60 years old. The person who is shown there. I go anyway after what I feel, after what my soul feels. How other souls affect on me. When I meet people, I always see not only the external form, I also always see or feel the soul. So I know what intention someone has, which character their perhaps concept. This is my fortune. It is just another weird that what one wanted to teach me for 40 years what important is in this world. But now I finish.
Das ist ein anderer Reichtum, eben halt als das, was man versucht hat, mir 30 oder 40 Jahre lang beizubringen, was wichtig ist in der Welt.
Oh, I wanted to once again show the image.
Noch ein anderes Video. Ach so, ich wollte noch mal einmal das Bild zeigen.
The image of the Archangel Michael I have shown.
Vom Erzengel Michael.
He holds the word in his hand and also the cross. But now I want to once again show this painting. I do not know who painted it. The picture hung here already. When I saw it in the first second, I thought, the same is rebirth. To be born again, live through it all again. Once again make this trip.
Nochmal alles durchleben.
Pay attention to how the white cloth is folded in the back. It is folded like an angel's wings. So I think this is also the Archangel Michael. The Archangel Michael is the one who dives the deepest. He seeks Satan. It is this famous image where he holds a sword in his hand and keeps one foot on Satan's head. But it's just to make something understandable. Angels do not fight with weapons of matter. Angels fight with spirit. It is a spiritual spirit, a spiritual conclusion. It can be sharper 1,000 times as all weapons of matter together. Michael is the highest angel. Okay, that's it. Until next time, bye.
Michael ist der höchste Engel. Jetzt zeige ich euch das Bild. Okay, und das war's erstmal.
Have a good time.
Jetzt werde ich es mal posten. Okay, ciao, habt eine schöne Zeit. Und lasst euch nicht
Do not yourself from the negative news pull down. Believe in something good. Believe in the good in yourself. This is important.
glaubt an das Gute in euch selber. Das ist wichtig.
Ciao.